Afternoon, everybody. Thought I would try to quickly explain how our irrigation system works. I could literally spend hours talking about how water in Colorado works, because that's how complicated it is. But let's just try and keep it short and sweet, shall we? So this is our canal down here by us. You saw, if you watched my video this winter, how much bigger it is up at the start of the canal, but we're basically at the bottom of the canal here. So the way our canal works, it is a rotational canal. We have no say in when we get irrigation water. The canal tells us when we're going to have water. And every head gate, as we call it, every outlet, we start at the top, work our way to the bottom. However much water there is in the canal determines how many gates can open. How much water there is in the canal determines how quickly it moves through the canal. Because when your gate opens, you run for 48 hours, and then your gate closes. And the next guy turns on, and the next guy. Oh, hang on. Does anybody remember where I was at? I don't even remember where I was at. But I do know I was talking about it's rotational, so we have no say in the water. So right now today is April 15th. Our canal turned on a month ago. It's taken a full month for the water to get here. That's not good. There's times we have it before the 1st of April. Unfortunately, this is one of the latest times we've ever gotten it. And it's all in how much water is in the river. All of our water is coming down the Arkansas River. Arkansas River is the most over-appropriated river for sure in Colorado, and I think the stat might be in the United States, because of how many calls there are for shares of water on that river. Even when the river is completely flooding out, there's still people calling for more water. So that's the way our awesome river is set up. But like I said, this could get easily sidetracked into a crazy long talk. And it is really windy outside, so I'm going to stay in the pickup so you can actually hear me. But the way it works, so there's all these head gates along the canal here. And all that is, there's a tube that goes underneath the canal. And then this gate controls, it's just simply a metal gate right in front of it, controls the water flow through it. So the ditch rider, as they're called, comes along when it's your turn to turn on. He turns it on. Every gate runs on a different number on this measuring device to make sure you get all the water that you own in your 48 hours. So the gate right back there, here's the measuring device, so he'll watch that to make sure we're riding at the right level there, to make sure we are getting the water we own. And then from there it goes down to farms. So there's two setups. There's an individual head gate, which means the head gate just irrigates one farm by itself. That one I just looked at goes to 4. This one goes to 10, and that's what we call a lateral. A lateral is just a big ditch that carries water to a lot of farms farther away from the canal. So now I'll go show you the next step. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the wind all right. I wanted to get out here and show you this. So this ditch is the same one that we were just at, about 1.5 miles up there at the canal. This is a weed rack, as we call it. You know, all it is a simple chain, almost like a chain mail setup that runs on these big chains on the end. Pulls the weeds out of the ditch onto here, dumps them into a big pile. We pile them up and burn them. Sorry about the wind, guys, but not a whole lot I can do to control that. So then, this ditch, as it meanders for a couple miles, all the farms split off like this. And again, we all know how much water we own, so we know the exact dimension that was supposed to be made at, and then how wide that's still supposed to be. And then over here it splits again between two farms that we farm. So this one right here is going to a sprinkler. Let me turn the light on so I'm pointing in the right place. To a sprinkler right there. That guy over there is going just past our blue shop over there to that farm back behind it. So it'll go through underground pipeline, like you can see down there. It'll go through that underground pipeline all the way to the farm. Had a slight delay. Guys were firing up the last pivot that we needed to get running and had a flat tire that turned into a nice wrestling match. But anyway, so back to what we were talking about. So 20 years ago, this is how all irrigation in this area was done, with canal water. There's always been wells here running center pivots, but canal water either went through gated pipe or an open ditch. But 20 years ago, they decided there's got to be a better way. So they came up with the system that we have now of our storage ponds. And what that does is essentially turn your surface water into a well water, sort of. In that, in order to run a center pivot, you have to have pressure. Best way to create pressure is to have a motor like a well, and in order to do that, you got to have the pond to hold the water and create a man-made well, essentially. In that, you guys seen this through my videos already of how we built that newest pond. You have all that water go into the pond, flows into that pipe, and then that well pressurizes the system. So every pond we have is set up with this sort of system to an extent. Every pond has the concrete in the pond, the cylinders that allow the water to come out. Almost all of them have the motor and wet well here on the pond bank to pressurize the pipeline to the pivot. We have a handful that the pivot point is quite a bit lower in elevation than the pond, and in that case the water goes through the concrete and then just gravity flows down to the pivot, and at the pivot there's what's called a booster pump, which in theory is the same thing as those pumps, but all it is just builds up enough pressure to fully pressurize the system, because gravity doesn't have enough force to pressurize the system. But center pivots are very rapidly becoming the biggest irrigator in this region. Seems like every farm that can fit one, everyone is trying to put one on because of how much more efficient they are with the water. The problem we're running into is the Colorado-Kansas Compact, which is a lot of really boring crap a lot of lawyers drew up years and years ago, in which they say even though we own the water, we have to return a certain percentage of it through underground flow or direct ground flow in ditches back to the river to send to Kansas. And it's actually turning out to be pretty funny on the farmer side, because the way it's going, in the end, we're proving that Kansas is actually potentially going to owe us water, because these ponds lose so much water to the ground. That water just seeps away underground, and in theory it all returns back to the river, is what we've been told, because that's what they say happens with flood irrigation. Everything that makes it past the root zone has to go back to the river. So that's how they came up with their formula, saying, well, now that you're putting on these center pivots, you're not pushing enough water through the root zone. Well, we've been doing actual scientific studies, not just formulas with fun-filled numbers that they come up with. Scientific studies that are proving our ponds are losing significantly more water than anybody ever dreamed of. And in fact, we're returning more water than we need to, which means in the end, I believe Kansas will have to pay Colorado farmers on the Arkansas River because we are giving them more water than they are actually owed. So they are going to have to start buying that water, or we are going to start having to use more water, which is hilarious, because for the last 20 years I've been yelled at by people saying that we're too efficient and we're depriving the river of water and it's causing a shortage, and that's why the Ogallala is going down, and blah 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 blah. And when we actually start putting flow meters in and measuring everything, we're proving quite the opposite. And that just puts a smile on my face, because after 20 years of being told I'm the one causing all these problems, I'm actually preventing the problems, and that's fun. But I mean, I really wanted to try to keep this video short. I hope I kept it short. I tend to ramble on and have no idea how long these videos actually go. So I'm just going to end that right there. You know the basics of our water. If you got questions about the water, put it in the comments. I will answer it there or in another video, however I can. Either way, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you in the next video. I'm back. Can't let you guys get off that easy. So when I made the video, that was Thursday. Today is now Monday. We ran through our water. They're calling for a low tonight of like 23, 24 degrees. So we're going around and winterizing. This one, the pump is here at the pivot. So I pulled the plug there. You can hear me over the wind. It is delightful today, guys. 40 degrees, 20 mile an hour wind. Oh, this is fun. I got that. So that is going to drain the whole system, so we don't have to worry about this thing freezing up overnight. Hopefully. But I wanted to throw that in real quick. That's the beauty of having irrigation water in Colorado in March and April, and then again in October and November. You have to do this a lot. But hey, on the plus side, doing a really good job irrigating that road right there. But with that, I will leave you guys alone. And just remember, there's a really old saying, whiskey, welcome to the West, where the whiskey's for drinking, the water's for fighting. Talk to you guys later.